What is good, YouTube? And today I am finally bringing you the long awaited settings video for Warzone 2. I am filming this video just before the February 15th update that will finally give us resurgence and a lot more things that we need for Warzone 2. So in preparation for that, I am giving you all the best settings you're going to need moving forward. Now to start off, we're going to go over the controller settings I recommend you run. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything about keyboard and mouse because I don't play keyboard and mouse. So first up, after you figure out what button layout you want, we're going to start off with the sensitivity. Personally, I don't recommend playing high sense unless you're just a freak of nature, and you could probably skip over everything I have to say about the controller settings except for a couple things. I recommend you start off with 5.5 and work your way up. 5.5, 6.6 is my sweet spot. I make it look a lot faster than what it is, but that's just me personally. And my ADS sensitivity multiplier is 0.8. Now, if you're running 6.6, I recommend you start off at 0.7 and gradually work your way up and find the sweet spot. But if you're obviously a demon, probably don't need these settings. Now, a lot of these settings I'm not going to go over. You could just copy these and use them for yourself. But I'm going to touch on some settings that you have to have. One of them being armor plate behavior. By default, this is going to be on to apply 1, and you're not going to want this. This is basically going to make you tap Y or a triangle to put on each plate at a time versus tapping it one time and it automatically just goes through the whole animation putting on plate by plate without you having to tap it for each plate. You're definitely going to want to leave this on apply all. Now, aim assist. This is going to be a very touchy subject because the aim assist type at the start of the season, it was default. And then shortly after that, people started using Black Ops. I've been on Black Ops since then, but a lot of people are saying that default is better now, and they kind of nerfed the Black Ops aim assist. But I've gotten used to it, so I just left it as is. So you're gonna want to target aim assist on, and aim response type or aim assist type is gonna be either default or Black Ops. Leave it on Black Ops if you've already gotten used to it, but if you're not using Black Ops currently, leave it on default. And target aim assist, you're definitely gonna have this on. It literally slows down your aim when you're dragging your crosshair across somebody. So I don't know about you, but anything that gives me any more information while fighting people, I want that on. Now for the aiming. Now, this is another touchy subject because personally, most games I use linear just because I'm really accurate with my cursor movement when it comes to my analogs and whatnot. So I like a more precise aim response curve, and that'll be linear. But on this game, I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't feel right. I've tried out dynamic and it feels a lot better than standard and linear for me, so I have it on dynamic. But if you currently don't use linear or dynamic on any other FPS games, leave it on standard. Now again, I'm not going to go through every individual setting on controller or advanced, so you could either copy these or switch what you think you'd probably need the most. But I am going to make sure you do have this disabled. Parachute auto deploy. Now, if you played Warzone 1, you know when you're flying down and you get to a certain height, your parachute automatically deploys for you. You don't want this enabled. You're going to want to have it off. That way you could deploy your chute once you're close enough to the ground. This is going to give you enough time to loot and whatnot, while some other people may have parachute auto deploy on. This is definitely going to give you an advantage. Another setting you're definitely going to have on is sprinting door bash. So whenever you're running through a building and you run through a door that's not open, it's automatically going to bash open, and that way you could just surprise your enemies that are sitting in corners and whatnot. And the rest of these settings, they are obviously preference, so you could either copy them or you could just completely disregard them. Next up, we got graphics. Now, if you're playing on a PC, this is a no-brainer. You're going to definitely have full screen exclusive on. If you play on anything else, you're going to get input delay and you're not going to get the best frames. Full screen exclusive gives you the best frames and the best response time possible. Now, the rest of these settings are going to be PC or system specific, so you can either copy these or tune them to the exact same settings that I have versus minus the refresh rate, because that's going to be your native monitor's refresh rate. So I have a 240 hertz monitor, so I'm going to have mine at 239. I could put it to 240, but I think it automatically caps at 249.764. Basically 240. Next up, we have quality. Now, there's two settings in the global quality that you must be running. Most of us are running 1080p, so that means you have to have your render resolution at 100. If you have anything less than that, your game is going to look terrible. So put that to 100 and leave it at that. Now, for your upscale and sharpening, I've gotten these settings from a very trusted optimization guy of mine called Real Tweak. Definitely check him out on Twitter. is really good. His recommendation was fidelity cast and anti-aliasing, have it on filmic SMA T2X, and anti-aliasing quality on low, and video memory scale on 80. Now the rest of these settings are obviously system specific. So you're going to want to turn everything on low and find a sweet spot for your clarity and your visibility, but not taking a big performance hit, because you want to have a consistent FPS value. If you scroll down to post processing effects, you're going to want to have NVIDIA low latency on, depth of field off, world motion blur off, weapon motion blur off, and filmic grain down to 0. Any of the motion blurs in these FPS games are going to give you a lot of visual clutter. It's literally the worst thing you could possibly have enabled. And for filmic grain, you're going to want the game to be as clear as possible and as sharp as possible when you're looking downrange. You definitely want to be able to see people at range as much as possible, because at further ranges, especially with your render resolution being at 100, if not 1440p, it's going to be really hard to see people unless you got some really good eyes. Next up, we have view. I know a lot of you console guys immediately turned your FOV up to 120 once you got the option. I don't blame you, but you're not going to want to do that unless you're completely used to everything being small as I don't know what. I personally found 110 to be my sweet spot, so even though I played on 120 for a majority of Warzone 1, I went to 110 on this game just because I feel like at range it's really hard to see people, especially with a lot of the movement around like the trees and the bats and the birds and all that type of stuff. It's a lot harder to see people at range, so it's like I want to be able to see that person as much as possible. And for everyone, console and PC, you're going to want to have your ADS field of view on affected. This gives you a lot less visual recoil. Obviously, if you're going to have recoil, it's still going to have recoil, but you're going to see it a lot less with affected FOV. Another setting you're going to want to change is your weapon field of view. You're going to have this on wide. I personally had it on narrow just to test something out, but you're going to have it on wide. It makes your gun a lot smaller, giving you a bigger target to hit. So you're going to see the person on the other side of your gun a lot bigger than what it would be if you had it on narrow, or even the other setting being default. Last but not least, we have the camera in the section of view. You're going to want to put everything on least as possible. So you're going to have it on 50% least, and the other two don't really matter, but these two settings, you're going to want to have them on 50% least, because it gives you if you have it on anything other than 50%, it's going to give you a lot of camera shake. So let's say a precision goes by, you get hit by a nade or anything of that sort, it's going to be shaking all over the place and you don't know where the hell you're going. It's terrible. Put it on as least as possible. You'll thank me later. Now for the audio settings, I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for the audio settings because Warzone is notorious for terrible audio. It honestly doesn't even exist. You have to do everything outside of Warzone to even get some audio 90% of the time. Personally, I used to run home theater on Warzone 1, and on Warzone 2, apparently it sounds a lot clearer in my opinion. Boost and headphones boost and boost bass, it just sounds a lot more muddy than I would like. It doesn't sound as clear as I would really like it to be. So home theater gives me like the best of both worlds. I could hear it clearly and it doesn't sound as muddy as bass boosted and whatnot. Now, a common mistake is having your volume at 100. Even your system volume should not be at 100. It should be around 90 to 95 max. I personally like 80 because I have my system volume at 90. You don't want to have your ears bleeding just to hear a couple footsteps. And for the music, dialogue, and effects, I have those all tweaked to my personal liking. Music, I never have that on. Dialogue at 50%. Voice or effects volume, I have that at 100. Hit marker volume 50 because I don't really need to hear my shots be hit after like I see the, I see the player getting hit with the hit markers on my screen, so I don't need to hear it actually hit the person. And voice chat volume, I have no idea why voice chat is insanely loud no matter how low you put it. I put it at 6. I've just left it at that, even though some people have their proximity chat mics on and it's just completely ear throbbing. I don't understand it. It's at 6, but it sounds like it's at 1,000. It's just, I don't know. They have to fix that. Another setting you must have off: mono audio. Just turn it off. Don't even bother testing it out. Just turn it off. Now, I'm going to give you a very secret setting for audio. This is the audio setting that everyone's been wondering how to do, and it's been a game changer. Most of the streamers that you know are currently using this, and you're wondering how the hell they hear people across the map almost. They're doing this. And unfortunately, it's only for PC players. So for all my PC players, what you're going to want to do is hit the Windows key. Now go down to your sound icon at the bottom right and go to sounds. Now that you have that open, you're going to want to go to playback and go to whatever device that you have that's currently playing your game audio. Now go to properties, enhancements, and loudness equalization. This setting gives you the best footstep audio. You're going to be hearing people from across the map with this. I'm not even kidding. It's night and day. The only issue is that if you play another game on your PC, it's going to be a lot louder in certain aspects, and you're probably not going to want that. So whenever you're playing anything other than Warzone, you're going to want to turn this off. Now let's go to interface. There's going to be a lot of settings in here that you're definitely going to have enabled. Now I'm going to scroll down, and you could copy these settings if you like, but there are a few that you're definitely going to have enabled. You're going to want to have your mini map shape to square. This gives you a larger mini map. In the example and in game, you're definitely going to tell the difference. Mini map rotation, you can have this on, but again, it's preference. But I do recommend it. Next off, horizontal compass. You're definitely going to have this on. That way you could easily tell somebody, let's say if you're hearing shots left or right, it's a lot easier to say east or west. That way they could look up at their screen and easily tell what you're talking about. Next up, we got crosshairs. Crosshairs is definitely something that we're used to having, but in this game specifically, you don't have to have it on if you have the center dot icon on. And I'll get to that just in a second. Hit marker visuals and damaged hit markers. You're definitely going to have this on. Damaged hit markers for Warzone 2 specifically, whenever you break someone's plates or hit their plates, that's what it's going to show up as. So you're definitely going to be aware of what you're doing to the enemy. So turn this on. Last but not least, we have the skip introduction movie. Just turn this on. You're going to skip the whole animation in the movie and whatnot. It's just do it. Network in-game icons and hardware in-game alert icons. Turn both of these on, because if you're having packet loss or you're losing a lot of FPS and things of that sort, you're going to want to be able to know. That way you're not going insane wondering what the hell's going on. The game's going to let you know that something's going on. Now, center dot. Trust me, everybody should have this on. If you don't have your crosshairs enabled, you definitely have this enabled. And I love the fact that they give you the option to make the dot a lot bigger. Personally, I'm going to up this because the little dot, it's cool, but I want it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put it on a little larger, but not, you know, largest. This definitely helps with your centering, and in between gunfights or just moving around the map, you're definitely going to have your centering on point. Every pro Warzone player has great centering. Now, of course, this is something you're going to have to work on if you don't have good centering already. I recommend playing multiplayer or playing a private match and shooting bots. You could also turn off aim assist when you're playing against those bots or multiplayer. It definitely helps, trust me. And that is my Warzone 2 settings. Appreciate you guys staying tuned through the end. Now, once Warzone 2 finally releases season 2 this coming February 15th, I'll definitely release a resurgence settings video, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, it's been boy KL signing out. Peace and love, baby.